Yeah.
Perfect. I was just thinking, I wish I had 10 more.
Look at this picture right here.
It's kind of blowing my mind to sit here and look at you two with that behind you.
Yeah.
Wow. Welcome to the assembled members of the press and to the cast and director of A Star Is Born. Thank you so much for this film. I was telling you backstage how much I enjoyed it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Not only is it a terrific film, but there's a couple of things that I wanted to ask about just off the top. And one of them was that one of the overarching themes in this movie is about being true to yourself, creating art that speaks to you specifically, and then hopefully that will find an audience. If it's authentic, it will. And I can't help but wonder that in a time when the arts are kind of under siege in a lot of ways, government funding is being cut and that sort of thing, if there's a message in this film regarding that.
Well, first of all, thanks for having us. And it's great to have the whole cast. This is the first time we've all been together since we shot the movie. So it's pretty cool just for me to see all these incredible artists here. I'm such a lucky person to have worked with them. That was never anything conscious. I mean, funding for the arts and a plea for it to grow is something that's kind of a age-old tradition at this point, right? I mean, dating back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s. So I mean, that's as long as one can create content that's compelling. I mean, I think that's the biggest motivator to help fund it, isn't it?
Listen, that to me was one of the messages of the film. Yeah. What was it then about this story? It's been 3 years at least of this journey to get here. What was it about this story that drew you in so much?
You know, the truth is, it's not one thing. It's been just a sequence of sonic ideas and compositions and meeting people and saying, like, you know, and I love faces and eyes and voices, and all of these people have incredible character that I just was obsessed with putting on film. And then I have such a unique dynamic with each one, and they have with each other. And so in terms of the human element, that was all inspirational, and it kept evolving depending on who was going to be in the movie, which, as you can tell, you know, it's very specific to who they are. But it really was, you know, probably started about 6 years ago when I was at a Metallica concert, and I was behind Lars Ulrich's drum kit, and I saw the scope, the proscenium of that, and I thought, oh, just to be on the stage the whole time, that's how I want to see a movie. I've never seen a movie where all the concert footage is, you're always on the stage. So really, and I wanted to tell a love story. And it was also, you know, just not to get too specific, but it was Annie Lennox singing the cover of I Put a Spell on You, and I was looking at the veins in her neck and how pure it was, and I thought, well, that's the best way. If I could have that in the movie, because you can't hide when you're singing. So it was just a bunch of elements, but all at the epicenter is Lady Gaga. I mean, she was the one that propelled the whole thing.
Let's talk about working on this film, creating the character of Allie. It's tremendous work. The reviews, I don't know if you read reviews, but the reviews are
She's not reading
unbelievable. You know what? In this case, you should.
Advice.
But it's fantastic, and I love the stories that I've heard about working with Bradley on this. And there were a couple of keywords that you would use when he was directing you. So if you wanted a feeling of warmth, he would whisper the word Tony to you to make you think of Tony Bennett. And there were a number of others. Can you just tell me about that process and how it made you feel and drew the performance out of you?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today, Richard, and thank you all for being here. I feel very, very honored to be sitting on this stage with these tremendously talented human beings and kind and loving human beings who I'm happy to call my friends now. You know, I think Bradley is an incredible filmmaker. And I have acted before, but I've never been a lead actress in a feature film. And every day on set was such a thrill to watch him work. It was such a thrill to act in the environment that he created. He operates with such precision, and he has such a vision, and you can see the gears turning while he's working, even while he's in character at the same time. And, you know, yes, he would whisper things to me like Tony or come on, assassin, or ninja. And we would pound each other, you know, and what it helped me do was to, you know, I had the lines memorized. He told me the most important thing was to know what I was trying to say, to tell the story that I was meant to tell in that scene. And then when we got on set, I could just throw it all away and exist in this precise but completely liberating environment. It was not rigid. It was a very artistically free experience, and I'm very, very grateful to him for believing in me. So thank you, Bradley.
One of the things that I thought about the performance is that often, if I notice the actor thinking, if I can see the thinking, it takes me out of the performance. And I didn't see you as an actor thinking, I saw your character thinking. And that, to me, is a huge difference. And it just felt as though it was extemporaneous, a lot of what was happening. I know it's not, but it felt that way to me watching you perform.
Thank you. I think a lot of that had to do with the immense trust that we all share. And, he says it in the film to me before I go on his stage. When we sing Shallow together, he says, all you got to do is trust me. And, it was very much like that every day on set. So, there was never a moment where I was thinking, oh, I should move my head this way, or maybe the camera should shoot me like this. That's his vision and his storytelling. And I just wanted to be a vehicle for him to tell this beautiful story.
Sam, your character, and I'll speak around it because I don't want to give anything away here for people that haven't seen it, but it's a really complex character because you are at once filled with love and wisdom, but there's a resentment there. That's all I'll say about it because I don't want to give anything more away. Tell me about just finding the right balance to bring this guy to life and make him interesting and watchable and someone that we want to spend some time with.
I think it just starts with what's on the page, and it was clearly there from the get-go, and it was beyond that. It was in Bradley's head in spades, as Stephanie just said. I think when you start out and you have, there's that old adage: if it ain't on the stage, it ain't on the page, or vice versa, and I've always been a believer in that, but. In terms of how I got there, I'd never crossed paths with Bradley before I started on this film, and I'd always been a fan and knew his work, obviously, but was kind of intrigued that this young man was going to be a first-time director on this particular vehicle, and he convinced me very early on, like 5 minutes into our first encounter, that he could be trusted, and I think, it's as Stephanie said, I mean, trust is a huge part of this game. When you're trying to get at the truth, you've got to be able to trust someone.